This episode of this Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey is brought to you by energy healer Jean Border's personal, powerful transformation program. Know you're leaving money on the table, but can't figure out how to bring it in? Need to double your productivity and profitability? Need an extra push to get things moving in the right direction? Visit www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com/transformation now and apply for a business consultation with Jean. Welcome to the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey, where we take out your emotional baggage and heal your emotional body so you get to enjoy the success you desire and deserve. Prepare to feel a sense of relief and empowerment as we get rid of the baggage you've been carrying that's held up your business success up until now. Be sure to visit our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, lean in, get comfortable, and prepare to take off.
Hi, everyone. How are you? This is your host, Jean Border, with the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast. I'm going to start out today's session a little bit differently because my clients have been coming to me with money concerns. With the economy the way it is right now, they're feeling a bit stressed, some of them are, or money beliefs and money blocks have been coming up that they've not been aware of before. So I've created a free little help for you. If money is one of the conflicts you're dealing with right now, go to jeanborder.com/vow, VOW, and that will give you a place to start. If you're familiar with tapping, EFT, just run through it. You'll be great. If you've never done it before, take your time going through it. All the instructions are there at the beginning. jeanborder.com/vow. And now I have a special guest for today's episode. This is Amelia South, who is an herbalist and a forager. I think this is so cool and so needed right now. Hi, Amelia. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm fine. Talk to us a little bit about what you do and why you and how you got from where you were before to what you're doing now. It's an interesting story.
So I teach foraging classes in person and online. I also teach herbal medicine making and gut health. And basically, I want to teach people how to do what it is that I've been doing for years, which is finding wild food and wild medicine, turning that into different remedies and things to heal myself, and getting to the root cause of my issues, all the problems that I was having, which all stemmed from my gut. So all of the things that I did to heal myself, I'm trying to teach everybody else that I meet how to do themselves. So that's basically what I do. I do foraging walks in person, but I do a lot of foraging content online on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. So I've got a couple channels where I post my stuff. So yeah, I started back in 2006, shortly out of college. I had my first really crappy little apartment, and I was living in Washington State, and I basically started getting into foraging because there happened to be a lot of blackberries. If anybody that listens to you knows Washington State at all, there's Marion berries, they call them, but there's blackberries. There's a whole blackberry festival. I lived in the part of Washington that was just absolutely covered in blackberries. And I said, you know what? That's free food. I'm a poor person. I'm going to go get free food. I was like 22, 23 years old. So I picked a ton of blackberries on the side of the road. I didn't care who saw me standing there with a bowl picking the blackberries. I just picked them all, taught myself how to make jam and jelly and froze them and all kinds of stuff because it was free food. So that's how I really initially got started, thinking, hey, I'm poor. This food is free. This makes sense to me. But eventually, over the last 17, 18 years of doing this now, more and more and more. I got more and more into it after I had kids. Not only because it was, hey, free food, it was like, hey, you know what? This is also free medicine if I learn how to work with it properly. And I can go out in the woods, or I can go out in my backyard and pick plants that I can then take in various ways to heal myself. So that got really, really interesting, exciting. When I had my daughter, my very first child, I didn't know you can't give anything to a baby. You can give nothing to under 6 months old. There is like nothing you can buy at the store. They just say, nope, good luck. Give them breast milk. Hope that fixes the problem. And it didn't always fix the problem. So I started learning about herbs that were safe to give in small amounts to babies. And that's like, things like gripe water that stop the baby from having the digestive issues, or chamomile tea, which will help calm them down when they're really colicky, things like that. So it was really, really useful as a young mom to start learning all these herbal remedies and things. And then over time, again, it basically started out from a poverty mindset, like, I don't have any money, so I'm going to take care of myself. And it has grown from that to me. There's actually scientific evidence now that the wild foods that you can pick, like things like stinging nettles and dandelions and red clover. These plants, if you think about it this way, the plant chooses where it wants to grow. It either grows in your yard or in a field or in a forest or wherever it is. That plant has chosen that spot because it can get the nutrition that it needs. And it soaks up all the vitamins and minerals from wherever it is in the soil, and it fills the plant up with that. Whereas when you are growing a plant on purpose in your garden or on your farm or whatever, you have to control that environment. You have to make sure that you are, as a human, providing those vitamins and minerals, or the compost or the fertilizer or whatever it is for that plant, to make sure that plant has what it wants in that spot. Wild plants, again, it's been proven it's something like 40% more nutritious than cultivated plants. Even the deep organic stuff. Like I'm an organic farmer, and it's still so much higher vitamin content in this stuff that I can find growing on the edge of the field rather than what I've spent hours and hours cultivating in my garden. So that's like incredible for your health, honestly, being able to get that level of, again, vitamin, minerals, nutrition in your body on a regular basis. Even if you aren't doing it for poverty, you want it for the health reasons. That's where I'm at now. I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. Even if I had $1 million a day, I'd probably still be going out there foraging, because I like the flavor, I like the taste, I like how that food makes my body feel. That I've got the energy, I've got everything I need in that wild food. So that's where I'm at. Hopefully that wasn't a rant. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. So many things on that I want to touch on. Number one, the bit with moms having no resources other than chemically made milk,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously the child is having an issue with, right? And not knowing where to go.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that I actually had a woman come to me for help a couple weeks ago asking, my child is like 4 months old and has eczema now. What can I do about this? I don't know where it's coming from. And the first thing I asked is your child breastfed or bottle fed, like formula fed? And she said, formula fed. And I said, that's why. And I said, I'm not trying to shame you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, because I'd rather see your baby eat than starve. I said, I'd rather see an infant being fed Doritos and not dying than starving to death. You know what I mean? But at the same time, babies are born most of the time, like their gut wants that breast milk. And for whatever reason, sometimes they can't get it. And I get it. That's why formula exists. But there's a lot of problems with formula just in general for an infant's health. And that can cause skin problems to develop, because skin problems start in your gut. So.
Yeah, it's probably not a big surprise to anybody, but I have a big issue with chemicals, especially chemicals that are marketed as being safe and being better for you than anything else. Well, no, they're not. They're chemicals. They're man-made. which is never as good as nature made.
Mm-hmm.
But they are a big profit maker.
Absolutely.
So that's all I'm going to go on my soapbox there. But yeah, there's so many moms that need help with what the heck is going on with their baby. They can't find a formula that works, that takes care of the issues.
Yeah.
When you know that there is either an excess of something in the formula or a deficiency of something in the formula, or just flat out the body can't tolerate it, period.
Yeah.
There's some chemical in there the body can't process out naturally.
Mm-hmm. I know I was told as an infant that my mother told me, she said she tried to breastfeed me for a couple of weeks and I was rejecting it or something. I'm guessing that's what the doctors told her anyway. She said she put me on soy milk as an infant. And I'm like, I'm a grown adult now. I can't have soy. Not anymore. I'm soy intolerant now. I can't do that. So I'm like, I can't even imagine. Like, I'm so grateful to whatever power it is out there that allowed me to be able to breastfeed both of my children. Like, I only breastfed for like a year and a half, but it was still enough to get them the start that they needed. And I'm very grateful I was able to do that. Some women can't, I know.
Yeah, the only thing that I could tolerate was banana milk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was adopted, so I had no choice. But
yeah.
But yeah, I was on banana milk. And then later in life, there's a chemical in bananas called tyramine that's a migraine trigger. So I had migraines up until I found energy work and got rid of them, you know. But it's very interesting how these things work out.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing you were mentioning was no matter how much time, money, energy you spend cultivating the soil in your own little planted spot, the soil is just not rich enough sometimes. And that's true in the food that we buy at the grocery store.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
Anything grown on a large scale is going to be nutritionally deficient compared to wild food. There is, I suppose, like if you had like a little 4x4 garden bed that you could potentially put the right things in it to grow some stuff, but it's not going to be like, you can't feed the world like that. You know what I mean? That's why, honestly, the worst weeds are your best friends. Something like dandelion. In case anybody that's listening or watching doesn't know this, all parts of a dandelion are edible. And most of those parts are delicious if you prepare them correctly. So, like, dandelions are absolutely everywhere. They're wonderful medicine. Plantago that's a little leaf that grows in almost everybody's driveway everywhere in the country. That is one of my absolute favorite medicinal plants, and it's everywhere. You know, clovers are edible. All these things that most wealthy people are desperately trying to get them out of their lawns. And I'm looking at it going, your lawn is full of food. Are you crazy? Why would you poison that whole thing when that's a bunch of free food right there for you? Like, my lawn is hideous. If somebody went through, somebody with a lot of money or that owns a golf course is going to drive by my yard and say, ew. But that's because I let the weeds have their way in a lot of places. And, you know, I go through and I pick a bunch of stuff before I mow the lawn. If I mow the lawn at all, I go through and I pick everything, I harvest everything I want. And then I'm like, okay, then I mow it and then it comes right back again. And I'm like, yay, free food. You know, tasty.
Yeah, dandelions are a big deal. Dandelion wine. I mean, everybody
I've made it a
dandelion wine. You know, I mean, I don't hear about it anymore, but when I was growing up, I mean, when I was a teenager, everybody had dandelion wine.
Yeah, I've taught a class doing that like once or twice. Definitely,
also,
it's fun.
Salad, you know, dandelion salad and wilted salads and stuff.
Have you ever had roasted dandelion root tea?
No.
It is the best thing ever. I mean, I have a cup of it every night before bed, but when you dig up a dandelion root, if you've ever had dandelion root, anything, whether it's a tincture or a tea or something, most people know dandelion root is a bitter. So it's a bitter herb, and which is great because it helps support your liver and your gallbladder and your digestion being bitter. The bitter flavor is really great for your digestion, but it's not fun to eat or drink. When you dig up a dandelion, like any dandelion in your backyard or whatever, make sure it's a dandelion, but a dandelion, you dig that root up, wash it, chop it up, stick it in on a baking tray, put it in your oven at 350 for like, I usually say anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. You basically want it crispy, so it's not going to, squishy anymore. But then you just grind that up and make it into tea. It tastes like chocolate coffee.
Oh my God.
When you're roasting that in the oven, the whole kitchen starts smelling like chocolate. It smells amazing. And then you make a tea. I make a like a nice strong tea with that. And I put a little tiny bit of stevia and a little tiny pat of grass-fed butter in there. And it tastes like I'm drinking a fancy latte at like Starbucks or something. Like,
Oh my God.
I don't need Starbucks. I got a dandelion root latte. I'm good.
Yeah, all the brain health stuff that's coming out now with all the they're always doing more and more research, and I'm one of these information junkies. You know, I'm always learning more, and then I'll get a little bit of information from everything that I pay attention to, and I figure I got my money's worth, even though they were probably free summits, but still, you know.
Yep.
But they're pushing now that instead of soft drinks, consider a very strongly brewed tea.
I've heard of, it depends on the tea, obviously, but no, that can be helpful.
And they listed a whole bunch of just, you know, everyday teas that everybody knows of, but they say, don't let it, you know, don't pull it out too soon. Let it actually steep. Like it gets really strong. And that's when your brain's going to get the benefit.
That's the medicine. Yeah. And that's called an infusion. We call it an infusion because when you're steeping something for usually anything longer than 20 minutes, I think qualifies as an infusion. But there are some people that will steep their tea for 12 hours or more, you know. You want to be careful, like, but much more than 12 or 14 hours, then you can risk it starting to kind of go off. But that's a really strong infusion. That's when you're going to suck all the medicinal qualities out of that herb, whatever it is. If there's anybody like you don't want to be drinking soda anymore, but you still really want that bubbly feeling. My son and I discovered our new favorite drink last fall. And this is just like, I have one of those soda stream machines that just carbonates your water. You fill the water up in your sink and you carbonate the water with the push of a button. And we just make that, no, nothing in it, just plain carbonated water. And we get limes. I buy limes. So we slice a little slice of lime squeezed into the cup and carbonated water. And it is amazing. It tastes so good. It makes you want to drink more water. The flavor is there. It's not too strong. And it's 100% natural because it's literally just a chunk of lime that you're squeezing in there. And it is just unbelievable how satisfying that beverage is. I go to that instead of like a beer. If I used to go mow the lawn, be tired, and go for a beer. And I'm like, no, I want my lime seltzer. That's going to make me feel better.
I even like lime water. I'm one of those people. Lemon water is okay, but
lime is amazing.
Water is
lime tastes so much better.
It does. To me, it does anyway.
Yeah, yeah, same here. Yep.
Okay, so talk to me about how you started growing your business. A lot of my audience are small business owners, and anytime I can, I'd like to give them helps so that they can see when a train wreck is coming and then not have to deal with some of the obstacles that come up when you start to grow your small business. What are some of the things that you had to deal with or that you had to come to terms with inside your head?
Oh, yeah. Well, what happened so I started this farm back in 2017, very small scale, low maintenance, kind of like I'm building with whatever I got. I did start going to the farmers markets and things like that around 2020, 2021. But it's always been like this little part-time, I make maybe a couple $1,000s a year kind of gig. It's been a supplement to me having a job and getting, I work an hourly wage. I've worked for like a dozen different farms and retail greenhouses and stuff. I'm definitely an agriculture person. But what happened was 2022, I was a manager of an organic farm up in Massachusetts. And I liked that job. I did a very good job at that job. But the end of the season came, November came, and I was laid off for the season, which is normal. That happens, pretty much everywhere. But I tried to find a job like for the interim, like my next job, or, what can I do through the winter or whatever it was. And I kept going interview after interview after interview, thinking, oh, I'm finally going to get this job. Or they would tell me like I was going to be hired. And then they ghosted me. time and time again. So I was like, all right, this is the universe telling me something is going on. And I had been teaching classes a little bit at the time, taking my stuff as a vendor to different festivals and things. And I just said, you know what? There's no reason I can't just do my business full time. And I made the decision to make this go from, a $2,000 or $3,000 a year business to, at the very least, enough to sustain me. So I threw myself whole hog into, pushing more classes. I decided to, instead of just teaching group foraging classes, I decided I was going to do private foraging walks. So I started advertising that. That's been a big hit. Like, I will go to somebody's house, take them and their friends or family or whatever around their own yard, their own property, and show them everything that's edible and medicinal on their property, which is incredibly awesome for them, because if you go to a class like at a state park or something, you might remember some of it. You'll take pictures or notes or something, but you're probably going to forget most of what I taught or tried to teach you. Whereas if it's right outside your backyard, you can look outside your backyard after I'm gone and say, didn't Amelia say there was this one thing right over there by the wood pile? Or, oh, she showed me this thing over by the well. It's right there. And you remember that. You retain that so much better because it's on your own property. So that's that. I like doing that. That's a part of it. But I also got onto social media, which social media is like simultaneously good and bad. It sucks your whole life away because you're constantly creating content and constantly, live and talking with people and all that over and over and over again. But I did develop a following. And part of that, a little part of that was like the initial part of that was getting over the mental block of, oh, nobody wants to watch what I have to say. Nobody's going to care what I have to say. There's like a dozen to, 5 dozen other people doing the exact same thing. Who the heck cares what I have to say? But people started to decide that they liked the way that I had to say it, or the way that I was teaching it, or my energy, or whatever it was that appealed to them. And I've explained this to people before. I'm like, even though I do teach some herbal medicine and things like that, but I say, whoever calls to you, whoever you see and you're feeling drawn to that person, there's a reason for that. That is, the universe is telling you that you have something to learn from this person. So listen to that. And there have been enough people. I've started creating online classes that I was putting out so people could learn things from me online, no matter where they were, because of course, teaching in person is very limiting. There's only 20 or 30 people a year around here that are going to want me to teach for them. Whereas online, I can teach anybody, anywhere, all the time. So I started doing that. That was expansion and all that. But the biggest thing, going from I started finally making money, and that was astounding to me, because I was like, holy cow, people actually want what I have with my classes and my products and things. But getting to the point where, well, now I believe in myself enough to know that I can make some money, versus now I can make enough money to live on my own and have a life. I mean, I wouldn't call myself wealthy, but I'm definitely not like I was 5 years ago, barely scraping by. I've got enough money to live okay, pretty decent life right now. So that's where I'm, maybe 10 years from now I'll be making yacht money, but I'm not there yet. It's okay. I'm happy where I'm at right now. But that involved a lot of EFT, a lot of subconscious reprogramming, a lot of affirmations all throughout the day. So I had to, I found an EFT video on YouTube that this woman did a really fantastic job. It just hit me just the right way, what she was saying in her script. And it made me realize that I had been raised, like when I was a kid, my mother was with my stepfather, who had his own business, and, several $1 million business. And he had a lot of money. His parents had a lot of money. I grew up being able to go skiing, and we'd go camping and all that kinds of stuff with them, not with my dad. My dad didn't have that kind of money, but when I was with my mom, we had a lot of things. And the thing is, I was raised with this man and his family and their work ethic, which was screw everybody else as long as we make money. They were basically terrible people. And I developed with the knowledge of the only people that have money are bad people. People that screw everybody else. They do whatever negative tactics. They don't care about the environment. But, they'll dump stuff in the river for all they care. Doesn't matter who they have to throw under the bus, as long as they're making their money. It doesn't. And that's what, like, I had internalized, that the only people with money in the world that were able to live a comfortable life, or that I would call rich, were bad people like that. And I had to work through a lot of tapping and a lot of repetition before that boom, it finally came to me. I was like, oh, now I understand why I was so afraid to make money before. I had to get past that, because it's like, I refuse to make money off of anything that does not involve truth, honesty, and integrity. I am 100% real. I'm never going to tell anybody or do anything that I don't believe in. I'm not going to say I'm never wrong. I'm sure once in a while I'm wrong, and I will admit that I'm wrong. I apologize for that. But at the same time, everything, as far as I know, anything I'm teaching people or showing people, I am telling you, as far as I know, 100% correctly and honestly. And the fact that I now can do that, I can be myself, be who I am, operate with integrity and honesty, and still make a living. I have so much pride in myself for that, because I don't have to be, rude or disrespectful. I don't have to be deceitful to anybody to try to make a bunch of money. I don't have to lie about my products or anything. And I don't. I say, this is what I think is going to help you. This is why I think it's going to help you. If you choose to get it, that's great. If not, it's your life. It's your decision. And I'm hoping that at least part of the reason so many people are drawn to me and learning from me is because they can see that I am who I am. I am who I say I am. I'm not lying. I operate with, again, honesty and integrity. And I feel good about that. I want to feel good about making money. I did have to also get over the fact that I was making money, because there's a lot of herbalists out there. It's not just me. There are thousands of herbalists that, like, all they want to do is help people. And I get it. I want to help people too. The whole point is to help heal people. And I give tons and tons and tons of advice away for free all the time. But I have to have a limit. I have to have a boundary and say, listen, there comes a point where I'm going to stop giving you free advice, because my time is worth being paid for. That was another hurdle I had to get over. There are a lot of people, a lot of healers, I know, they just want to help people and heal people. And they're like, well, I should just, maybe I can charge $10, but your service is really worth like $80. Don't do that to yourself. And it took a while to finally hit that point. Like, no, I am worth more than that. My time, my abilities are worth more than that. They're worth being paid for. So those are some of the hurdles that I've come over anyway.
And those are so common. They really are. Some of the internal money conflicts that you brought up, rich people are greedy. Rich people are bad. Rich people are evil. If you want more money, it's because you're evil. If you get more money, you're going to be like those evil rich people, You can't make more than your family would be comfortable with. There are so many internal conflicts that go on around having money, making more money than you absolutely need to survive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big guilt builder in a lot of people. So yeah, and you mentioned it's big with healers. It absolutely is. Just yesterday, I was on many of these things I read, but I don't even bother to respond because I know where they're coming from. One of the Energy Works websites that I'm involved with, they have a Facebook page, and they get a lot of new people who are just interested in certain the modality that they're talking about. And someone asked how much, asking because they were newly certified or were going to be certified. So how much do people charge for their sessions, and how long are they? Well, that's a huge range, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be anything from just a donation, whatever you think I'm worth, to thousands of dollars for a session, right?
Yep.
And so someone mentioned in there, anywhere from, I think I've seen people charge anywhere from, I'm just going to make up numbers, $45 to $120 for a session.
Mm-hmm.
And someone immediately came back in fighting it. Like, that's highway robbery. Why would anybody, how dare they charge that much money? Well, I'm like, that's not very much money. And so the person came back, the original responder came back and said, oh, but that's for a whole hour. And I'm like, $30 for a whole hour. So you have to pay thousands of dollars to get a certification to be able to even work with someone.
Yep.
And you think your value is $30 an hour.
Yep.
So maybe there's some more work that needs to be done around self-worth, how you value or don't value what you provide to your clients.
Yeah.
Right? Going on about highway robbery. I'm like, how much do you pay the money to work on your car,
Yep. That's the money mindset. Like I've had good days, I've had bad days, but I've had people who have limited income and they try to guilt trip you. And this is going to happen. Everybody that's a healer in some capacity, someone is going to come across your path that is going to do everything they possibly can to guilt trip you, because guilt tripping is what works for them to get their way with other people. So they're going to try it on you. And it's up to you to have the strength to, not necessarily fight that, but to say, no, thank you. You know what? I am what I'm worth, and this is what it is. This is what my price is. Don't discount yourself just to make somebody else happy. There are a lot of people
that's a very important
can't afford it. Yeah.
Don't discount what you're worth. That does not stop you from donating your time, efforts, money where you see fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? You can always decide to have a group session where you charge people a smaller amount that still exceeds your hourly rate. Right? But to give into someone is to give away a piece of your power. And I'm very big into personal power. You'll see it all over my website. That's you are only as strong as you allow yourself to be.
Yep.
It's a personal choice. Yes, it's all based on our background, on our beliefs.
Yep.
But it comes down to your choice to either take on your power and stand strong in your beliefs, create boundaries that support you, which is something else you brought up. That's huge for people trying to grow a business. They just want to give everything so they can get any money coming in. Well, no, you have to decide what hours you're willing to work, how much time you're willing to take away from your family, who say you're working to support. But if you're not there, how are you supporting them? You're just giving them money. They can get money from the state on welfare. That's not supporting them. Supporting them is being there when they need you. So how much of yourself are you giving to what you think is important? How many hours a week are you working? What days of the week do you want to work? So you have to set the intention before you go too far down the road and give too much of yourself away.
Yeah.
What do I want my business to look like? And then what do I need to do to support that? What boundaries need to be in place?
Yep. And you can always keep growing and changing and develop
all the time.
more.
All the time.
Exactly.
As long as it's a choice and you don't feel like somebody's, to use your word, guilting you into it.
Yeah.
You don't want to give away your business. You don't want to give away your power. Don't give away your self-worth.
Yeah.
And the first part of that is awareness. Becoming aware of when you're doing it and how you're reacting to triggers, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. I still catch myself sometimes reacting. My partner likes to say, if they get an emotional reaction out of you, they win. That's what he says. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. Because if somebody starts saying something to try to trigger you and you get upset, they just won because they took control of the conversation. And I've let it happen to me. I know I have a few times. And I'm always kicking myself afterwards because he's like, you let them win. And I'm like, oh, no, nobody's perfect. It's not all, sometimes I do great. Sometimes I don't do so great, but I'm getting better at it the more practice I get.
So here's a question. How long did it take you to get over what I'm going to call your money blocks or your money conflicts so that you were okay with making enough to actually be happy at the way you're supporting yourself financially?
I want to say,
Or are you there yet?
well, I would always like to. I'm at a point where I'm doing okay. I want to be doing better. Right this second, but it is the slow season, so I don't have a lot of expectations at the moment. It's really slow. There's snow outside right now, so I'm not super concerned about it at the moment. But it took me probably 8 months straight of tapping every single day, constantly doing the affirmations, constantly working on myself, all the time for about at least 8 months, maybe a little longer, before I finally got to the point where it started really taking effect and really showing up in my life. One thing that I do, I generally encourage everybody, like even my clients, to do is to journal every day, whether that's on the computer, on like a Word document, or a physical journal with a pen and paper, whatever it is. Journal, because when you put your thoughts down on paper or write it down, you're looking at it, you can see it, and it helps you visualize it. It helps you put them into perspective. It helps you put them into reality, and it gives you an outlet to get all that other stuff. Like, you have this horrible, frustrating day, but you kept on your game face and you didn't let anybody get anything out of you. You can then turn around and go to your journal and this son of a beep, blah, 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 yell at whatever you need to do in your journal, because nobody cares. It's your journal. It's for you to look at. But anyway, the thing that I started doing, and I got this from TikTok. I don't know if anybody has heard of this before. The lucky girl syndrome went around for a while last year, I think it was. And all I did is start saying, everything always works out for me. And every time I start a new journal entry, the very first thing I write, no matter what, is everything always works out for me. Or everything's always working out for me. I know Abraham Hicks says that sometimes too, but all the time, every single day, anytime something goes my way or something goes well for me, I say that in the back of my mind, just really quietly. Everything is always working out for me. I hit a green light instead of a red light. Everything's always working out for me. I picked up the right wrapper size for the bottle I'm trying to wrap. Everything's always working out for me. I had just enough paper to write this thing out. Everything's always working out for me. When you reprogram yourself to see all the great and wonderful things that are happening to and for you every single day, it starts to build up and change your mindset. So I do that every single morning. I had, my entire life, I had no self-confidence. I had been beaten down, pushed around. I did end up getting married, but by somebody that basically was very abusive, emotionally abusive at least. And I had no confidence. I didn't want to stand up for myself. I didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't think I was worthy. I didn't think all these other things. So every single morning I wake up, and when I get up, to go to the bathroom or whatever, I look myself dead in the eyes in the mirror, and I say, I am beautiful. I am attractive, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and sexually. I say that every single day. And it feels really weird and dirty and egotistical when you first start. But 6 to 7, 8 months down the road, after you've been doing that every single day, you start looking at yourself going, God damn, I'm gorgeous. Every time you look in the mirror, you're like, look at me. I'm so fabulous. Look at this. Because you have at that point, reprogrammed your brain to really actually like yourself and feel that way. So it's the little things like that you can do that build up over time. I try to help people with this when I do a consultation. Whether they take my advice or not is up to them. I do my best, but there are a lot of people that come to me with major emotional and mental blocks and issues that they need to change. But whether a person is willing to make the changes necessary to actually reprogram themselves and actually change their life is completely dependent upon how much pain they're in. And that doesn't mean necessarily physical pain, mental, emotional, spiritual pain, anything, whatever it is. When you have reached your limit and you cannot handle it anymore, you decide either I'm going to be in pain or something's going to change. That's when you're finally ready to change. So those are the people I'm looking for. Like when you finally say, I've had it, I'm done. I'm thinking about possibly offing myself because I'm so unhappy. No, it's either that or something changes, and that's when I can help you change. If you're like, well, I really wish I didn't have anxiety when I went to the grocery store, but I don't like it, and I don't like the way my boyfriend does this thing. But when you set yourself into the victim mindset and you just don't want to do anything to change that, you're afraid, you're too afraid to make any kind of changes, you're not really in enough pain to dive in. Like my life is completely and utterly different now than it was 2.5 years ago. Completely. I am a different person now than I was 2.5 years ago. And somebody could come up to me, put a gun to my head and say, you can either go back to the way you were before or I'll shoot you. And I would say, pull the trigger. I'm not doing it because I like the way I am now. I actually love myself. And it's wonderful when you finally get that. It's great for your business too, by the way.
Yeah. Well, the journey of personal growth and transformation has always been a big deal for me. That word journey comes back so many times in things that I create. And it's even in the title of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not the final destination. It's everything you did to grow to get to where you want to be, to where you are now, to where you're aiming for next, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, but for the most part, if you're happy where you are now, there's something in the back of your mind saying, yeah, but what's next, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're always looking for what's going to come up next that will fulfill me, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that you said, I think you said it differently, but in Tony Robbins' world, it's life is not happening to me, it's happening for me.
Yeah, I say that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many times, especially when we get stuck in the I'm not as good as I could be or should be, or I'm not as pretty as I could be or should be, and I don't have enough nice things like I should. If I'd only done this, if I had only done that.
I hate that word, should. Should is a bad word. Don't ever use that word.
But that creates the hamster wheel of never being happy because you could have done more. You could be more. You could be further along in your journey if only, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't serve you.
Nope. Worrying about things that haven't happened yet or worrying about what you could have done better does nobody any good.
So reprogramming, to use your word, reprogramming the way we look for proof, rather than looking for the negative of what I did wrong to the way you did it, looking for everything that's right.
Yeah.
I'm already all right.
Yeah.
And so show me proof of that. That's what happens in the subconscious, right? Before it was looking for all the proof for all the negative things that you were saying in your head that you've been told over and over by your family members or the not supportive friends, right?
Yeah.
The support system that wasn't. And then you took control and you took back your personal power.
Yep.
And started taking action towards a new future.
Yeah.
So that was your journey, which is fantastic, right?
Right?
But we all have that choice to stay where we are, to live in our current reality, or to create something different. But that takes a bit of courage. Sometimes it takes a lot of courage.
Oh, it was the hardest thing. Absolutely. It was not an easy thing to do, but in my case, it was basically either I can literally go crazy or I can make these changes to save myself. And I chose to make the changes. And so I'm grateful I did. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it takes a little time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it works. It works when you know how to do it, And
I'm going to throw this out there. Because I'm a healer, a lot of times clients will come to you and they just want you to fix them. Like right now,
Yep.
just fix me. And sometimes that works because
Yep.
it was just an immediate shift that happens and they get it. But other times it's a journey. There are so many layers to the belief systems we create that we have to work our way through those layers as it's safe for the subconscious to let them go. Because a lot of times these beliefs are wrapped up in family dynamics, and you don't want to leave your family behind. You know, you still want
sometimes might have to. Sometimes I've left some of my family behind. I don't think I will be ever talking with them again.
But that's part of the journey.
Exactly, yeah. And when you realize that is what was holding you back, or that was causing the toxic issues in your life, and you know and you realize how much calmer and happier you are without that person being in your life. It's like, why would I ever want to put that back in my life, you know? And remember, you're programmed from the time you're born to about 3.5 years old. That's all of your programming is pretty much your family. Yeah.
Yeah. All the when you're learning the English or whatever language.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, where you don't understand what's going on, when you have a limited knowledge of the world, you make judgment calls about if this, then that's safe or that's not safe, right?
Yeah, all the behavior your parents, your family is doing in front of you, that's you learn how you're supposed to behave, how you're expected to behave, and all that stuff.
And that's with you and
forever.
For years, your subconscious is always looking for proof. See, you were right in that judgment. You were right in that judgment. You were right in that judgment.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, my mother used to do this when I was 1 year old. And even though I don't consciously remember it, you're like, well, I'm going to keep doing it because that's what I saw my mother do when I was 1 year old. You know what I mean? It's terrible sometimes.
And so the reprogramming is paying attention to some things that don't even seem logical, but you've been doing it anyway, right?
It might not make sense, but if somebody like me that is figured out how to see it, I can see it in other people a lot of times. And it's amazing. Once you are clean, you can see it in other people. You can see, I'm not trying to say this in a derogatory way. Like, you can see the dysfunction happening in other people. And it's like, if you want to help them, you can want to help them, but you can't always help them. They have to want to help themselves.
It's their choice. And it comes down
to
taking back their personal power through decision making.
Mm-hmm. And some people are ready for it and some people just aren't.
Some people just go along with what's always been because then it doesn't create internal stress. They don't have to decide to make a choice. Yep. But other people, like you were saying, get to the point of no return where they just can't take it anymore and they decide. Some people in some situations call it hitting rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
When something is just so bad.
Life-changing.
Exactly.
It's life-changing. And some people, as long as you can manage to make enough of a decision to survive, your life can completely change around. You know? Don't go throwing yourself off that bridge because you could be a millionaire next year. You never know.
So we're getting close to the end of our time together, but before we go, I wanted to mention a couple of things. You have offered a free gift to our listeners, and yes. I'm gonna have that information down below. But if you'd like to go into that a little bit,
is this the 5 sneaky ways? That one?
It's
or the foraging? Foraging, that one. I have 2. Sorry. So, foraging, 0 to Foraging Hero. That is if you're interested in starting to get into foraging, this is just an introduction on the safest practices, the best things to remember when you want to start getting out into foraging. There's some really good lessons there. The ways that I started learning, and it's eye-opening for anybody that really wants to get out into whether it's the woods or your backyard. It doesn't matter where you are. You could actually even find some of these things in a city. I wouldn't necessarily eat certain things you find on the sidewalk because, a dog's been there. But if you can find a park, I guarantee there's going to be some things that you can find growing wild in different places that that are edible or medicinal or both. And once even if you only actually learn like maybe 5 plants out of the billions of plants, you learn 5 of them. That is so empowering to you. You can say like, hey, I remember this. I learned what this was. I learned that I could eat this. I learned that I could make medicine with this. And then you go home and you do that. Even if it's just a matter of eating a dandelion head for the first time in your life, like it changes your whole perspective on food, on self-empowerment, on what else could I do? What else could I find? What else could I eat? What else could I do to heal myself? So it's the start of a journey. If you want to get started, this is a good place to get started.
Cool. And your website is Herbal
Remedies by Amelia.com.
There you go.
Yeah. With an H, Herbal. Yeah. So we're Americans. We say it with no,
And the link will be below as well.
Mm-hmm.
Any last thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners? Or do you think we've covered enough?
I mean, we covered an awful lot. Just don't stop believing in yourself. You can do it. You can do it. It doesn't matter what it is. You can do it. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you're thinking about becoming a gorilla in the circus. You can do it. You can, you can do whatever you set your mind to. And I know there's thousands of people that say that, but stop telling yourself that you can't. Don't ever just stop with can't. Say, I can't do this yet, which means you can, you're just not there yet. Always remember yet.
Yeah, I've been pushing for a while now, 1 step a day.
Yep. 1 day at a time.
Because then you're moving towards your goal. You may not be there yet.
Yep.
You may not be comfortable with it yet.
Absolutely.
You may not be able to reach it yet, but 1 step at a time, 1 step a day will get you there.
Yep, exactly.
So I want to thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed our time together, and I've learned a lot because when I was younger, I can say I've always spent a lot of time outdoors. I have eaten things that have grown. Now, I don't do mushrooms because I think they're just gross. I don't like the texture of them. I was like, no way in this world. But grass, I've always eaten grass. That's
well, I don't want to tell anybody to eat grass itself, like grass that's growing in a lawn, is actually not really edible because human bodies don't have the capability to digest it properly the same way a ruminant like a cow would. But there's a lot of stuff that's growing in next to your grass that is edible. So probably
honeysuckle is another thing, and we'd always drink the juice of
pull the little center out and lick the end. I love doing that. Yeah, I love doing it. And Japanese honeysuckle is invasive around here. So yeah, you can totally do that. You can eat dandelions. People are like, oh my God, you can eat a dandelion. Now, there are a couple of other flowers that do look similar to dandelions. I will tell you that none of them are toxic. You're not going to poison yourself with anything that looks like a dandelion. They're all edible, but some of them don't taste nearly as good as a dandelion. So if you make the mistake and you eat the wrong thing, like you eat there's something called cat's foot and it looks like a dandelion and you're like, oh, this is gross. Yeah, it probably wasn't a dandelion, but it's not going to kill you. You're not going to get sick or anything. Don't worry about it.
Cool. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah, and if our listeners didn't learn anything else, they've learned go out and eat dandelions.
That's right. Eat a dandelion. They're yummy.
So this is your host, Jean Border, with the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey. I want to thank all our listeners, and I thank my host, Amelia South, for being here. Until next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey, where we take out your emotional baggage and heal your emotional body so you get to enjoy the success you desire and deserve. Remember to visit our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey.